What's up, everyone? This is Jay High from Couch and Keyboard, and here we are again with some more stuff that's been happening in Melee. There's been a bunch, and I'm a little behind, but I wanted to at least let this kind of play out. Had some other stuff going on, but yeah, rank talk. This is something that has been, I don't want to say the worst part, because certainly there's no worst parts. But it is something that is, it's like, this isn't fun to get involved with. I think it is something to where it can get really catty, really, like zero sum, not fun to be involved with. And especially with social media and like the quote retweets, like that is we're like, hey guys, look how stupid this guy is, and that's just not a conductive way of having conversations, in my opinion. But yeah, let's kind of get into it. So Melee Stats, they have, there's been a little bit of drama, so they haven't been very vocal about stuff, and they come out and say that the summer rank is going to end, or like the ranking period, July 2nd, and then it's going to be 3 tournaments, with one of them having to be a major, 2 can be a regional, or you can do all 3 being a major, and then 1 more tournament with 1 more major of the same variety to be eligible. And that was like, okay, that's, maybe not amazing, but it's fine. Thing is this, if you see here, almost 100k views, less than 100 likes, you can tell it was not very popular. They are moving down the summer rank from 50 to 30. Now, for me, I used to not care about summer rank at all. I think post-COVID, people were so desperate for rankings. That first summer rank, when like Axe was below Swift and Mango wasn't top 10, like blah blah blah, like it was like, what in the world? So I think since then, summer rank has meant a lot to people. Like I think pre-COVID, it's fine, like it's there, but I don't know. I feel like it matters a lot currently in Melee, and I think the change is kind of seen as like this like symbolic gesture of Melee dying, which I don't think it is. But yeah, this was very unpopular. Moki, people calling on Lucky Stats, please save us. A little bit of drama here. I think it's a little bit too much. But Moki not only replied here, and then yeah, like we see a lot of stuff here. The ranking is important if players in the 50s. I agree. But yeah. We have a lot of people feeling like the Melee Stats people are not listening to the Melee players, and that can be difficult. Moki's full points here. So we have the changes. Counting online results during COVID. Didn't do that. Now, apparently that's due to Panda's involvement with Nintendo and all that kind of stuff. Changing the ranking period, so Genesis would maybe be the last one of the year, kind of letting it overflow. And then there's a lot of drama with the match in 2023. Yeah, 2023. And this was a very polarizing idea. People were very much against it. And there was kind of like, this kind of misrepresents it, whereas like people were like, yo, like we're not going to value anything unless you count it. It was kind of like a coup, like a kind of like a power grab a little bit. This makes it seem like they're just like, taking their ball and going home. Like, no, people were like forcing their hand, and I can understand having a bitter taste in their mouth. And then one of the biggest changes being a smaller list. Yeah, I think that running with a less accurate list would be fine. Yeah, I I think that Moki clearly has his heart in his sleeve about this kind of stuff. After feeling robbed in some rankings in the past, recently he's been ranked very well. But, like, some people maybe think that Moki should be above Josh Mint. I don't think so. But, like, I could see it. But in, like, when he was first getting started to being a top player, I can understand why he kind of had a bad taste in his mouth. He kind of holds on to these things that have happened for a while, and it feels like he's trying to speak and he's not being listened to. And there's a lot of stuff which, hey, tier-based ranking, I know someone that does that. I do it every quarter. See my next one in like a month or so. And like, yeah, clearly Moki does not have good feelings about this. And like, we is trying to like say this, like, I like them in these stats, guys. I've been in their Discord a little bit. I did a test ballot a few years ago. I haven't really gotten that close with anyone. Like, I'm not a melee stats guy. I'm just kind of in that orbit. I don't really go in there very much nowadays, but that's also just, I don't like Discord right now. But I respect a lot of these people, and yeah. So we gave kind of this full thing. Yeah, so we already said that it wasn't them that made this decision, and they just kept it consistent. I understand that not being fun, but yeah, the match, it did happen, and so I think that's a fair point. Like, just because the intention of like not wanting to like go forward with it, but ultimately they didn't, like, you know, guys, stop, isn't there someone you should have gotten consent from, like the whole thing. And I understand, like, they feel like it's like, hey, this is our stuff, let us handle this, you got your stuff. You know, I think that probably could have been mended, but I don't think that Melee Stats is like elitist. I think that it's just like kind of, there's not a lot of top players that really feel aligned to that. I think the players that have gotten like support from Melee Stats feel pretty indebted to them, and I think that Melee Stats has done a great job. But certainly the interpersonal stuff has kind of gotten in the way of a lot of these things. Yeah. I think that some of these ideas are better than others from Moki. I don't really think that all of them are good. Here is some interesting data here, to where we have the data suggesting different entries and tournaments going into the summer season. I think that this is a bit, I don't know. I feel like this is a bit disingenuous, but like, I think that we should be a little bit more willing to like appreciate what we have with regionals and not say like, oh, you have to go to major. Like, majors are important, but I think it's kind of overstated sometimes. Like, sometimes it's not that big of a deal what, like, someone going to a major. You can have a more meaningful and even more like rank heavy path at a regional compared to a major. So, I don't know. I think that we sometimes can, like, let's loosen the reins a little bit. Let's look at like the meaningful sets, and we address this in a different one, talking about, like, I forget where it was, but like counting the sets. I've seen some locals do that, and I'm like, I think that there can be a little bit to where it's like, okay, if you have one last tournament and you're like, okay, should I lose on purpose so I'm able to qualify so I have more sets? They can kind of open that. I don't think that's very likely, but I understand people that don't want to have that be an opportunity. But yeah, so I think that's a fair idea. But yeah, and I think that Nikki's standing up for him. Ambi, another Melee Stats guy, trying to, you know, stand up a little bit. This is another good point to where it's like, again, I think that the entrant count is not always super indicative. I think that people saying that, like, it has to be like super top heavy. We literally just saw this past weekend with Creed and Fight of the Museum. Fight of the Museum had way more entrants, not way, it was like 60 more entrants, but Creed had like 15 more top 100 players. So it's not always about the entrant count. I think that that is a bit inflationary depending on where you go. Like Genesis is gonna have more because that is the event. While you have, I mean, Battle of BC can be pretty top heavy, but not have the most rank. Look at Pound coming out of COVID. It had like 190 entrants, but it had a lot of top players. So like I think that can be a little bit inaccurate to show. Here are some of the ideas that I kind of like just wrote down real quick. I think it should be phrased as not enough meaningful sets instead of not enough events. I don't think that sets needs to be the requirement, but I think we need to have more sets between people in the same venue that mean something. I remember something with S2J, they were like, he beat 3 players he was supposed to beat, lost 3 players he was supposed to lose to. Where do we rank him? Like, this doesn't really mean anything. This reminds me of college sports a lot, to where it's like, okay, Alabama beating Missouri Eastern State, like, I don't know, like beating some mom and pop school, that it doesn't really matter. Like, I think that like assigning the stuff ahead of time causes, like, I understand I can fund those programs or whatever, but I want meaningful data. I think that is the biggest thing with like NFL. Sometimes there's a lack of data, or it's also just like a lack of meaningful data, because sometimes strength of schedule can matter a lot, and that's decided ahead of time. Back to video games, I guess. But I think that out of the blue doing waterfall with the earlier pools was good. I don't think it affected enough high seed players. It was like kind of like 32 made it in winners and 16 made it in losers. So you had the 33 through 48 seeds able to have more sets to go through. I think if it had been even more top heavy, it would have been more impactful. I don't really think it mattered that much. I could look back and see, but I think that like the players that are going there to be ranked from it probably didn't benefit. It's good for the players that are lower ranked, up and coming. Like, I think there's value there. But if you want to value our top players, which like, yeah, they're going to go farther in bracket, get more sets. It's just maybe still not might be enough. And so I think doing like I've done invitationals a lot in my region. I've been a PR panelist in my region for a while. In the VA, sometimes like sub-region for some of the bigger games and stuff, and for my local for a while. I kind of got burnt out from it recently, but I've done it for a while. And yeah, so I think that we should have more events. Not necessarily they have to be invitationals, but like, I don't love round robin pools, but like, I think it's better than nothing. And have the round robin pools be between like good players. Have it be like best of 5. You're not eliminating anyone from round robin, to where it's like, you have less sets. Like if you have 4 and then only top 2 make it through, you can have 3 2-in-1 players, and so this person only loses once but is eliminated compared to it being double elim normally. So I think there's like flaws there, but I think doing like some formats of Swiss, I know Smash and Splash gave an open bracket Swiss thing a bad taste in people's mouths, but I think we can try something like that. That was like 900 entrants for Ultimate, something like that. Like we can tone it down. We can do like a 200-person bracket, and not have it be so harsh in terms of the cutoffs and stuff like that. Like have it be a little bit more like open and have these valuable sets. I mean, I think LSI did great with that. I know like off season with the floating, I might talk about like floating pools, floating top players out of pools and stuff. But like there's an idea there to where it's like you had the sets to where the winner made it to final bracket, loser had to qualify, and like I think there's a case there. I think doing one tournament a year for like having these extra high level sets, I think that's fine. Like it doesn't all have to be double limb straight up, boom, there you go. Like maybe we can mix it up a little bit. Another thing, pre-locals are getting stacked nowadays, and I think they should count for something. I know people don't like counting them, and it's like, oh, it might end at like 2 a.m. or something. Look, man, no one's forcing you to enter the pre-local. You can just play friendlies. Like, I understand that rhetoric can kind of lead people to not enter stuff at all, but like, you have HBox and RapM in grands at Fly Melee Fly, and it doesn't matter at all. Like, I think it's kind of silly. Count as a regional, man. I know Melee hasn't really done like the pre or post invitational to like a major and stuff. Your Dr. Insano's, your Bars Summit or whatever. which VAR Summit was pretty chaotic, but I got a lot of props to VARs for doing it. I think that, like, hey, those should mean something. I think Melee can start doing those too. I think keep the top 50 even if it's bad. I think that people checking your work is so rare. I remember Money Mike, this house in North Carolina Falcon, he got ranked below like Finn the Angel or something. I had no idea who Finn the Angel was, but I hadn't heard of him. So how dare that player be above Money Mike, who's one of the best in North Carolina? I had no idea what I was talking about. A lot of people don't know what they're talking about. And so I think that, like, look, even if it's weird and people like, oh, I should be 41 instead of 47, who cares, man? Like I don't think that lowering, like, if it's a local and you barely have anyone show up and you go from 10 to 5, okay. I sometimes I try and, like, negotiate, like, 7 or 8, but whatever. It's okay. I don't think you need to go down. I mean, Smash 64 does a 64-person ranking. They have, like, 2 big events every year. Like, usually just Supernova. Maybe, you know, Genesis or a Latin American tournament or, you know, like, some other thing maybe. But it's usually, like, the big one is just Supernova. So I think it's okay to not have that many events, as long as you have people qualify. Now, that also goes for qualifying. I don't know, man. I feel like 2 for the summer is probably fine, because people are saying that Cody, if he didn't enter, like, he won both events he attended, but he won't be ranked. That feels weird. I think that having 2 majors would be fine. It's kind of whatever, but I think there's also a point where it's like someone was like, hey, there's not many people qualified because there's just not many classified as regionals. I think that we can include more and have... I'm not a huge fan of what Ult does with their tiering. I feel like it's not thorough enough, and I understand there's so many players for Ult. It's hard to be thorough. Like MDVA, they didn't tier enough players, and it's like only tiering the top 5 when MDVA is known to be a pretty deep region as opposed to a really top-heavy region. Like, yeah, there's some good players. You got Smub, now we have Rap and Myth, but like you have a lot of players kind of throughout that are solid, and so I think that, like, it should be more thorough. For Melee, I think you can do that, and I think top 100 is a pretty good cutoff, and I think that you can, you know, I know people don't like counting the weekday events, like your nightclubs, your Atom Smash series, whatever. They don't like counting those. Okay. But if you have a weekend event that has someone in contention for top 100, I think it should be like a D tier. Like just count it for something. Make it valuable, because I think that, like, competing for $150 and traveling 6 hours to get it, like, there's less and less incentive for the players. Like, give it something to where it's like, you know, I feel like it's fine. Now, Schrodinger's major, to where it's like, it's full boom a major, like the classic stuff, it's so nebulous based off of what whoever on Wikipedia decides and the threshold. I think that, yeah, if you have a lot of top talent, then, like, it should count for something. It shouldn't be taken away. Someone got so angry because I called CEO a major when it had Wizrobe and HBox, and I was like, dude, that's pretty high level, man. Like, you don't need to get so mad at me. But, like, and also people are saying that, like, he's asking to take over. I think that we can have both. I think having the constant updating and then the full big presentation, I like both of that. You don't need to choose. Why not both? It's okay to have competition. It's okay to have, it's not going to get political, open market, whatever. But, like, you know, instead of a state sponsored, I don't know. Not going to get into that. Another thing I forgot to put on here. I don't think the match was fair, necessarily. Like, not that it was fair. It was fair to both sides. I don't think it was the best option there, but it happened. The players wanted to do it. By all means. Like, I think that we can kind of, we as if I'm on the panel, I think they can kind of, like, you know what we have, what our ideals are, what we're driven to want to do, does not always take precedent. These are the people that are entering the brackets. Now, some Melee staff people do enter brackets, but it's been said that a lot of them don't. And I think it's important to be like, hey, like, just because you think you're smarter than the people entering does not mean that you should decide and control what they do. I've had to learn that the hard way, where I have these values and think, like, you guys are wrong, you guys are selfish. But, like, at the end of the day, they're entering. And I think it's important to consider the people that are entering, especially the top players. I think that there can be a little bit more open discussion. I know there's been a lot of drama, not even just with Moki and Melee Stats, and like there's been some other drama, and it's hard for people to come together in men's. But I really hope, and maybe I'm naive, I really hope that we can kind of do some stuff about that. I think that, you know, like, yeah, the match was kind of weird. I don't think that having a longer set means a better set. It's kind of whatever, but I really hope that we can move on beyond this. I don't think it'd be bad to walk back this decision. I think that, you know, it'll be slippery slope. They're going to complain about everything. But, like, I think keep the top 50 and be like, you know what, here's 31 through 50. Even keep it in, like, a tier. Do a 31 through 40, 41 through 50 tier. Ultimate, they've done tiered base things where it's like you can tier the top part, and then, or like order the top part directly and then tier these. And like let the players know who is on that top 50. I don't think it matters to order that much. It could be alphabetical for goodness sake. I think you should do it. I understand it's, you know, we have egos, we don't want to admit weakness, and maybe like this didn't help anything because with the quote retweet, probably isn't fun to be on the receiving end of that. I don't know, man. Separate the message from the messenger sometimes. I feel like that we can grow and learn from this, and it can go better. So, yeah, a bit of a weird occurrence here, but I think that things can get better. I didn't upload this to try and dunk on anyone. I like both sides here. I don't think it has to be where you have to pick a side. But clearly Moki is kind of the voice of the people right now. Like the kind of layman, like outside looking in for stats. And Melee Stats, I feel like, you know, it's not fun. But we can kind of like extend an olive branch and hopefully kind of, you know, get along with this. And hey, I'll also have my quarterly ranking, so if you want to see a tier-based ranking, I'll do that in early July for quarter 2. Quarter 2 is going to be very strange. It already is, but yeah. All I got to say, peace out.